Call is being recorded.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm excited to be with you this morning. I'm Dr. Roz, VP of Communications, and I'm sitting in for our phenomenal Chief Sales Officer, Phyllis Nash, who is probably en route right now in the airways on her way back to Chi Town. But I'm excited to be able to share, and we're going to flip flop this week, and I'll do Tuesday, she'll do Thursday. But I really want to share something really powerful that I think is powerful, and it was a blessing to me. I was watching a movie, and by the way, this is the Diamond Factory. This is the Diamond Factory where we come together every morning, Monday through Friday, like minded, except on Monday we get our marching orders from our CEO to wake up to Akana. But on Tuesday through Friday, Diamond Factory, where like minded individuals come together and we get our day started because it's something important to come together with like minded people. So, oftentimes, when we were in corporate America or if you had jobs in different areas, everybody wasn't like minded. And so you had to do things by yourself. But isn't it powerful when we can just come here for this 15 minutes of time and get our charge or get our gas tank filled up? And that's what I hope to do today, get your gas tank filled up. I was watching a movie and I didn't know, I knew what the synopsis of the movie said. And I'm an action person. I like action movies. Yeah, I like killing folk and shooting them and blood and all this kind of stuff. don't charge nothing at me right there. Okay, but anyway, I like action movies, and this movie was called The Last Full Measure. And just based on the synopsis, I didn't get the full impact of what it's about. And it's not a new movie, it's an old movie. But the movie centers on a true story. And I love true stories. True story of a Vietnam War veteran. His name was William H. Pitsenbarger. And he was an Air Force pararescue man. And the story goes on because there was this big bloody war, and part of the reason for the war was because of being misinformed uh, by the Air Force, and they sent the troops to an area where they were under total attack. But this particular Air Force pararescue man, he personally saved 60 men during the Vietnam War. Now, it was on this rescue mission, and it was in April the 11th, 1966. And he was told to leave. He was supposed to get into this rescue helicopter and leave. But he made a decision to stay. And in the midst of his staying, he aided some soldiers, some army soldiers, and they were under heavy fire. And all the other team members, his team, they left. They were in and the movie goes on to show how they were in the helicopter begging him to come on, get on the helicopter, get on the helicopter, and he waved them away. No, no, no. I'm going to stay and help these soldiers. He was ordered to leave. On the last helicopter out, he knew there was no other help that was going to come, but he decided to stay. And it was one of the war's bloodiest battles. But he chose to stay. And he sacrificed his own life to save the other soldiers. Now that was impactful. But what was more impactful to me when I was watching the movie, because they fought to get him the Medal of Honor after he died, and they fought for years and years and years, and there were cover-ups because they didn't want them to know that they had been misinformed and went through this bloodiest battle in the first place. So they tried to cover it up, and they finally people kept working for years. I mean, years later, and they finally were able to award him posthumously the Medal of Honor. And the Air Force secretary, when he was presenting the medal to his parents, he said these words. He said, everybody in the audience who was saved by this one man, stand up. And you had about, I told you there were over 60 men during the war. that had been saved. And those that were still living, they stood up. Then he said, everyone who is related to these men, stand up. Then he said, everyone who's married to them or cousin to them or a niece or a nephew or a granddaughter, stand up. And then he said, everyone who's related to any of them, stand up. Who have been touched by any of these people, stand up. So the movement kept getting larger and larger and larger because the impact of the lives that had been touched increased. And then the man said, the Air Force Secretary said these words: "This is the power of one. This is the power of what one person can do." And that's when my light bulb went off. That's when the sparks came out of my head. That's when the chills went down my arms, because all of us on this call, you have the ability to be the power of one. There is so much power that one person can do, and we have the ability, we have the tools, we have the technology, we have, oh my goodness, the ability to be able to share things with people that we don't know who's going to be touched by them, that's going to be touched by them, that's going to be touched by them, that's going to be touched. See, all of us hear names. We hear names. We hear names of people that we know in our lifetime and before our lifetime that have made a difference. We hear names like Pablo Picasso and Leonardo da Vinci and Bruce Lee and J.K. Rowling and Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela and Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Helen Keller, Albert Einstein, Billy Graham, Oprah Winfrey, Mother Teresa, Steve Jobs, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Abraham Lincoln, the Wright brothers, Socrates, Isaac Newton, Rosa Parks, Claudette Colvin, who was actually the first person to get up from her seat. They refused to get up off her seat in the bus, but Rosa Parks was the one that they chose to give the credit to because Claudette Colvin was too young. I just wanted to throw that in there. William Shakespeare, Cleopatra, Ludwig van Beethoven, Marco Polo, Louis Braille, Florence Nightingale, Confucius, Maya Angelou, Arthur Ashe, James Baldwin, Medgar Evers, Langston Hughes, Nina Simone, Cicely Tyson, Phyllis Wheatley. We know those names. But who touched them? Who spoke into their lives? Who said something to them in their upbringing when they were children or teenagers or adults that moved them to the position that we know them as, that made an impact? Who was the person? Who were the person or the persons that directed their thinking process to guide them in the direction of what we know about them today? Mother Teresa said, if we cannot feed 100 people, feed one. The Dalai Lama said, anyone who thinks they are too small to make a difference has never tried to fall asleep with a mosquito in the room. How many of you had a mosquito that buzzing around your head? The little bitty thing. See, sometimes we think we're so small. We think we can't make the impact. It's just me by myself. The power of you, the power of one. Edward Everett Hale said, I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And I will not let what I cannot do interfere with what I can do. Muhammad Ali said, service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. We're paying rent. Mother Teresa also said, never worry about numbers. Help one person at a time. And always start with the person nearest you. Kana Nation, our CEO has given us a vision, a mission. We're on a mission to touch one, to touch another, to touch another. And you are the power of one. We've been told to go get your two. If you've not heard that, you need to ask somebody, get you that information so you can listen to it over and over and over again. And guess where it starts? It starts with you. It starts with you. And you don't know. You don't know who you're going to touch. Every one of us on this call today has somebody who's touched you to get you where you are today, to get you to the point where you're wanting to make an impact in somebody's life. We haven't always been there. We haven't always been concerned about everybody else, but somebody somewhere in your lifetime touched you. So every day we start out, every morning, every afternoon, every evening, all the rest of this year, our job, our mission, our goal is to operate in the power of one. You say, but I have nobody to help you. Oh, like the man that was at the pool of Bethesda who had nobody to help him get into the pool. But Jesus came and told him to help himself. He told him to rise, take up your bed, and walk. Take up your bed, take up your distractions, take up your inadequacies, take up the things that are hindering you from moving forward and from making the next step, and make the next step. Why? Because your legs are there. You got legs. You've got what you need. You've got the ability. You've got a voice to talk. You've got hands to reach. You've got everything. You got a brain to think. You got everything you need to make it work. Let's touch somebody today. Let's change somebody's life today. I was at a vending event just a few weeks ago, and a lady came over to our table, and this is a vending event that we do on a regular basis because they have these senior events. And she walked over to our table and she said, I want to thank you all for doing that scan on my partner. She was another vendor. And she went on to tell us how he had a scare, but because he had done the scan, he knew what was going on. And then the next time we did the vending event, he was there and he personally came over and thanked us for doing the scan. The power of one. We are the power of one to make a difference. Let's go about doing it. So have a wonderful, exciting, motivating, life-changing Akana kind of day. Bye for now.